Alright everyone, welcome in. Today we've got some coverage of the KAGI Top Cut, KAGI 9.0. We got the Top Cut game between quickdraw and Ugluk. Now let me just pull up real quick. Round 1, quarterfinals game between quickdraw and Ugluk. And yeah, both these players made it through the event, through the pod phase, and qualified that way. So they've had a little bit of a long wait to get to the actual Top Cut with the Swiss qualifiers going on, but here they get to play, and we'll see how this shakes out. Ugluk, very famous, very good adaptive player. Quickdraw, also very good, very famous adaptive player, so it should be a really good match here. We know Quickdraw here is doing Guadalupe, the periodically spiky, and we'll see how that goes. So in the game, we see Ugluk is bringing close to Zorn. There we go. There's Guadalupe periodically spiky on screen. I'll do a little bit of a deck analysis first before we start the game. Then we've got close to Zorn of the Cynic's Emptiness. We've got the decks here. I'll go do a quick deck analysis of them. So first off, we got Guadalupe the periodically spiky, the deck that Quickdraw is bringing, a deck I am personally very familiar with. I've seen it played in many adaptive match. Quickdraw has played it against me in many an adaptive match. It's a very adaptive deck, very fun, very cool. So it's a Logos, Starlines, Untamed, my favorite Dark Tidings house combination. It has a 71 SAS, although don't let that fool you, especially with the Dark Tidings deck. It has Amber control of 8.9. No artifact control. It's got an expected Amber of 28 and a creature control score of 5.7, accompanied by a speed of 9.5 and 18 Amber pips. Now, one of the cool things here is that it's got some really cool Tide shenanigans. Specifically, it's got a Mecha Buoy, a Hydro Cataloger, and a Tide Warp. So what it can do is really have a lot of Tide manipulation. We can see there's 4 ways to manipulate the Tide. There's the Tide Warp. For those who don't know, it's a rare. And it's a rare that says at the start of your turn, if the tide is high, your opponent raises the tide. Otherwise, you raise the tide. So always switching the tide. Really cool. And you can time it with your Mecha Buoy to ensure that you always, because the active player chooses and they're both start of turn phases triggers, you can always choose to gain 1 Amber for it. So Tide Warp, Mecha Buoy, free Amber as long as they're on the board. Really cool. It has 2 E-Dies to help stall. It's got a Theory Injector to help build up the archive, as well as a final analysis to potentially help support a walk-off Data Forge. The Data Forge in this deck is live, especially with the final analysis in there. A lot of the Logos, a lot of the E-Dies and stuff are there for stalling and Amber control and taxing. But the final analysis is a really important piece of creature control that sometimes you kind of need to play it as that, even though it can accelerate the opponent. So a lot of very skill testing card in this deck specifically, especially accompanied by such a low C score. Now the Starlines has a couple tricks up its sleeve to help mitigate some of the C problems, specifically in the Ulfbert device. If you don't know what an Ulfbert device is, it's each player cannot choose the same active house they chose in their previous turn. Really cool card. Very skill testing, and when it hits the board, the game is entirely different. So, especially with a deck that has low C like Guadalupe, if you're a board-focused deck, often what you want to do is go into the same house again and again that you have on board. But with the Ulfbert device, you just simply cannot do that. So making sure that you're planning your turns, you're planning multiple turns ahead to ensure that you can get back to the house you want to when you need to, especially if houses have roles, like certain houses in your deck have creature control, Amber control, Amber gain. All of that needs to be planned ahead so that you can have them when you need them. So really cool card, very skill testing, and really can change up how a game plays. So really nice addition to this adaptive deck. Double Techno Babbles as well, help slow down boards. But on the Untamed side, we have Infighting and Thin the Herd, 2 cards I really like for creature control. I think Thin the Herd is very good. It's obviously it's a side grade to Lost in the Woods, a lot less control over it. Sometimes it can be much more one-sided. Sometimes you can be used aggressively on your side to recycle creatures, like as Guadalupe does with Witch of the Dawn and the Deepwater Ruins. or the E-Dies. Sometimes you want those things back in the deck to get them back at a later date. In the Untamed, lots of burst. All tied up is, well, more tide control, which is nice. Guadalupe doesn't have to take chains very often for the tide. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't often. And the fact that it doesn't, really good, especially in adaptive when chains matter a lot. So Guadalupe, while it might care about the tide, isn't forced in the positions, if it's the chain deck, to take more. So the tide for adaptive decks, really interesting consideration. So you got Chelonia, you got the 2 Deepwater Gruins, you've got Witch of the Dawn and Youngest Bear. Really cool. And a Mooklink, which a combo with the Fittest. So, you know, you got some staxing and stuff there too. So lots of creative creature control, not a lot of hard amber control, except for the Submersive Principle. Some interesting ways to play a tempo game with Guadalupe. So lots of stuff to look out for. And a tempo game can be extra hard to play if an all-board device is down. So very skill testing deck, this one. So move over to Pulsazorn, which is a Mass Mutations deck, a 68 SAS, Shadows, Starlines, Untamed. Its stats are looking at 8 Amber Control, 1.7 Artifact Control, 20 Expected Amber, and 20 Creature Control, along with an efficiency of 8.6. So Shadows, Starlines, Untamed deck. It's got some pretty well-rounded stats. The Artifact Control comes from a Tachyon Pulse, which is definitely one of those Artifact Control cards that is uniquely suited to be your only one, because it can deal with lots and lots of artifacts. So it can be really, really nice there. Now we can see that they have 2 Matter Maker and Secret Needle. There are 3 upgrades in the deck, so Matter Maker is something you'd like to see alive for a little bit of extra efficiency, but not necessarily critical, and can be Tachyon Pulse fodder. So the Shadows, this is my first time seeing this deck. The Shadows looks pretty steel heavy. We've got a Xeno Thief. The Shadows looks pretty steel heavy, as well as some creature control. We got Tempting Offer for some tempo. We got Look Over There. Dark Wave is always nice, especially in a deck with 8 mutants. Boss Eric is neat, especially can be more impactful in some adaptive games. We got Bow Nithing for that lovely, lovely steal. Hoping to steal 2 with it to close out the game. You love to see it. Shoulder Id, always really good value. Booby Tap, really good C card. This deck has a pretty good C in both these houses. We've got Hadron Collision, which is something I really like. Gets around wards, gets around wards, and also gets around armor. We've got Quintrino Flux, which is a really nice creature control card. I quite like it. And then we've also got the Secret Needle for some ping damage. Kirby to bounce. And of course, we got Anthony. And Anthony is a card that really is something you need to play around, kind of like the way a Drumble does. Anthony always works, but Anthony does give back the Amber, so it's a very interesting card, something to think about and play around. The Untamed, we've got a Resurgence, Double Song of the Wilds, a Vault's Blessing, and 2 Amberlutions. This is a cool card. It is a really interesting board wipe. It destroys each creature, and then each player reveals their hand and puts each creature from their hand into play ready. So if you play this at the wrong time, I don't think it's plays though, right? Instead of puts into play. Yeah, so no play effects happen. So if you can disrupt, if your opponent has powerful play effects, this can disrupt that. So like, let's say Quick Draw in this matchup is really important Amber control, being the 2 E-Dies. If this is the card that's played, and they're both put into play with no cards in archive, they can't do anything. So I think there's definitely some really interesting use cases for Amberlution to disrupt play effects on creatures outside of just the fact that it's a board wipe. Also, if you're in a pinch, it can be a board wipe as well. It can really bite you though, if you play it and the board that gets put for your opponent to reuse, because it gets put into play ready, so it's ready to use for your opponent's next turn, and it is Omega. So it's going to end your turn. So if it's, if they turn around and use it right away, well, that can be a bit of a problem. But something to keep an eye out for Quick Draw. But yeah, I think this is an MM deck where it's kind of just looking to play for some value. The cards are pretty decent all around. They all kind of do things, looking to make a little bit of a board and establish it and reap out a little bit. Another use for the double Amberlutions, importantly, is for the key frog. It doesn't matter if your opponent plays a bunch of creatures ready if you forge your third key with key frog. So also something to think about, especially with the double Song of the Wilds and the Vault's Blessing, potentially can make a lot of amber there. But with all that, let's get into the game. So in terms of which deck is favored, I have my thoughts, but I'm not going to let those spoil the experience. So no spoilers from me about what I think is the better deck. We're just going to let the players tell us. So Quick Draw is given the deck list a read. See if Quick Draw wants to mulligan. So we see a keep on that hand. Okay. They call Untamed. They're going to play Deepwater Gruin. Always a good first start. Again, tight is neutral, so that doesn't really matter. Very quick response there from Ugluk. Basically just trying to gain amber. We see the Stunner Universal Translator come down, and we also see the Hadron Collision. So again, Ugluk there just trying to clear some cards, trying to get some amber for the upgrades. Seems fair. Especially if they're not expecting to maintain that, maintain the board. And with only one creature on board, the Universal Translator. Oh, Quick Draw takes some chains. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering if they're looking to get all tied up values, so looking to rush here a bit. Oh, and so they do get a check here. Makes sense. So take the chains, take 3 chains to get to check here with the all tied up. Put some pressure onto Ugluk here. Yeah, Capture Rip comes down. And we see Dark Wave too. Yeah, I mean, this kind of seems like this kind of Untamed board just seems like a little bit of value for Quick Draw. Seeing this pair. Actually, we'll probably block this left side as well. Yes, this is just a ton of value. So let me pause this. All right. So we see the Anthony come down, stopping that key once again. Okay, all right. We had some real bursts there from Quick Draw, but nice answers from Ugluk. I don't want to be wasting any time. We do see the Tachyon pass out now, though. So I think if you're Quick Draw, you're pretty happy to see that. They don't get any secret needle value, and your all-print devices and your important logos artifacts are all free. You know, Game of Keyforge is good when people are looking at Archon cards. Okay, that's nice to see the Submersive Principle there in Archives. Ain't nothing I can do about seeing Archives. We'll try our best. Okay, we do see an E-Die come down. That's just one. So building up some archives. So the second one, can be able to stop it. We'll be able to stop a check at 10. Oh, actually, the nice thing too about it, if there is an E-Die on the field, the Key Frog, the taxing still applies on an Amberlution to kill the Key Frog. So unfortunately, when all the resolve destroyed effects have to resolve at the same time before creating creatures leave the field. We see an Untamed call. Quickdraw doing a lot of hand shaping here into Star Alliance. Yeah, gets the Key Frog off the field, takes away the Key Cheat potential, and trades the Witch for. We see another Deepwater Groom come down. Fandangle, very much a Witch. Shadow Skull for Ugluk. You see, look over there, hit the E die. Shoulder protects that Anthony. Quickdraw does sneak, does draw first blood and sneak that yellow key out. I know JT is not happy about that yellow key being forged first and is probably very disappointed. Okay. Oh, they take their archives here, so they must have. They got three logos, three Star Alliance cards in there. Off-board device does come down. Technobabble hits the Anthony. Do they have a second Technobabble here? Yeah, which is the Trimble. Yeah, I think that's fine. All the mutants right now have skirmish. I would all kind of like to see it stunning the thief, because yeah, the thief effect could just get so much value. The Xeno thief effect, where it's the fight, you get to look at the top three cards of your deck. One goes to hand, one goes to discard, and one stays on top. Okay, they do call Untamed here though. There goes one Amberlution. Key Frog's already dead, so unless you're looking to use it a board wipe, it's pretty null. And yeah, I mean, if the read was they're going to go Untamed, the Stunning the Trimble is certainly a tempo gain there for Quickdraw, as they've already secured their second key for 5 with the Static Collection Array. And Teresa there is nice, letting the Deepwater Groon be used in Star Alliance or Untamed. Now, you'd even love it even more if there's a Logos neighbor next to that Groon to be used in all 3 houses, but they'll take it. So there's still a Bonithing for Amber Control. Okay, Lost in the Woods. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's just really nice. Not Lost in the Woods. Then the Herd coming down, clearing out those 4 creatures is really nice. You get 1 creature you're pretty happy to have back in the deck. And then you're not that upset, and you get some of their amber off the field. Yeah, that's just a game. That's just GG. Guadalupe just doing Guadalupe things. And yeah, we got our game 2. We got our reversal game here. So Ugluk is gonna be piloting Guadalupe. We'll see how they can do it justice. And Quickdraw is gonna be piloting Prozacor. Gotta look up make sure I got the name right. Plosazorn of the Cynic's Emptiness. See if both of them can do the other player's deck justice. We want a game 3 here. Turn 1 Ulfbert device. Now that is a cool play. That's what you like to see. Really, this is going to be really fun to see both these players navigate this turn. So Shadows is the call for Quickdraw. We know the burst that Guadalupe can have, so definitely is going to be a little bit of a concession on that front. That you might not be getting the you might not be having the amber control next turn, especially with 2 capture pips, low amber control in the MM deck. Infighting. Yeah, so Shoulder Rid would steal there because it's a damage replacement effect. Anytime Shoulder Rid would deal damage. So they did it when they didn't have any Amber. Good call. But doesn't kill the Thief. So we see Chelonia come down. I wonder if they're going to take the Tide. No. Opting to not gain 2 Amber and instead just getting the creatures down. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, it's 3 chains, but you gain 2 Amber now. And Guadalupe can reach 6 pretty easily from 3. Like 3 Amber in turn for Guadalupe is pretty easy. And I think you want to be putting on some pressure with Guadalupe out of this deck. So I would be pretty tempted to take Oop, 5 creature hand. That's pretty crazy. 5 creature hand in Guadalupe from that. It's not every day you see that. Really cool, really interesting move there from Quickdraw. Oh, and it's put into place so it doesn't get the pips either. Okay, that's a good hit. That's a good hit. Man, that's nice. That's what you like to say. That's now, of course, I mean you're cycling Guadalupe faster by playing, um, 2 off-house cards, but it's cool. See here, yeah, I think this is an argument too for the should have taken the chains. They would have started that. They would have started that turn at 3. Um, so no, I think I really think that's a argument there for taking the chains. Let's see what quick draw. So next turn, Ugluk can't go into Star Alliance, and this turn, quick draw can't go into Untamed. So quick draw's looking between Star Alliance and Shadows. Okay, let's see the Matter Maker, an artifact we did not see last time. Hadron Collision takes out the Flumph. Unstuns the Damilion, plays that Sensor Chief Garcia. Some good C card there. No artifacts in hand. Oh, with Matter Maker, you actually want to see them when you're not going to call Star Alliance. So they'd rather see the upgrades in hand now. See a Logos call. You see an Edi. Bulge Warden's going to raise that Tide. Ooh, and we do get the Tide Warp down. Really awesome. Obviously, you want to see that Mecha Buoy too. And Static Collection Array. Static Collection Array with the Tide Warp also makes for some pretty careful planning needed to make sure you're not taxing yourself by +1 on keys. But it also, and it also causes your opponent not to take chains. That's going to change back at the start of your next turn anyways. So the Tide Warp out, your opponent is less incentivized to take the Tide. We have a pretty beefy Steelheart, Talonmate Steelheart over there. And of course, fine analysis gets discarded there. There we go. TCO problems. Then Song of the Wild dealing out a damage pip to the Bilge Warden. Keyfrog is going to gain an Amber. We see an Observe You Max. Okay, that's pretty cool. Amber Lucian again. Okay. So taking that one tax and only one creature in hand. So it's not the biggest problem. So what do we know? We got Technobabble, all tied up, Submersive Principle, Theory Conjecture, and Biome Discovery. Okay, knowing they can't go into Logos, so they're going into Star Alliance. But yeah, I mean, you're pretty happy to pay for 7 there with a key cheat, just to guarantee you have it. Okay, so Star Alliance turn there. With what they had in hand, it's probably fair. They we see a Shadows Call here from Quick Draw. And Technobabble certainly helped mitigate some of the damage there that Quick Draw is be able to do. And Bo, nothing, stealing for nothing. I wonder if Quick Draw is able to 4-card turn, I guess. 3-card turn. Just kind of seems like, I mean, hey, like if almost like you'd maybe want to hold the Bona thing maybe, but maybe the 1 Amber isn't worth it depending on what the rest of the cards look like in Quick Draw's hand. You see a Submersive Principle, Theory Conjecture, Submersive Principle. Okay, so pretty small Logos turn there. They discarded Submersive Principle. Wonder what they're cooking. Wonder what they're cooking in there. Pretty interesting disparity too. We see Ugluk pretty much already through the deck. Only 20 cards. Take 20 cards and discard. 5 left and draw. So 11 cards left to be seen that haven't been. 11 cards that have been seen naturally. And then we have Quick Draw sitting there with 18 cards. Tachyon Pulse gets rid of the Tide Warp, with Quick Draw having the Tide. So nice timing for Quick Draw. So it's going to be a lot harder for Ugluk to get the value off of things like the Mecha Buoy and the Static Collection Array. That's nice for Quick Draw. We see the Valmart come down. Pretty small on his turn there, but does stun the Shadows. More Shadows here. Interesting. Again, the upward device here is doing exactly what I was talking about earlier, slowing down the potential for boards to become problematic. And combining with the Technobabble, we really see the impact of that. Otherwise, Quick Draw would have been on check for, Quick Draw could have been on check here for 6. Even could have taken away some of the Amber control from the Valmart if they so chose to fight, but obviously they didn't need to. So, okay, we see the all tied up come down from Ugluk. It's going to gain us some Amber. And yeah, Deepwater Gruin plus the Fittest is going to be check right. That's 5 Amber right there. Yep. So it is nice value. No, 4 Amber. 4 Amber because the Tide Up uses a Tide Razor. Yep. Yeah, there's not even enough. I don't know what I was saying. There's no alphabet device on the field. The alphabet device was in the field though. We could have seen that. So again, seeing the shadows call and the board that quickdraw has established might be able to come away with everything. Quickdraw has shaken their cursor at the economist if they want to fight with it or not. Is giving Ugluk and Amber with it worth it? Choose to reap with thee, Francis. Now, that Xeno Thief not having skirmish is a problem. It has elusive, so it's going to be a little hard for Quickdraw to get value out of that fight effect. At 2 power or 3 power, it's going to be hard for Quickdraw to get the value out of that. So you see another Logos Call. Edai comes down. Unfortunately, only going to be able to tax for 1. And they're both even at keys, even at amber, so yeah, and Quickdraw can just go right back into shadows here and check for 8. And if Quickdraw wins this, that's going to be it. That's going to be a 2-0 win for Quickdraw. So Ugluk really wants to win this second game. Whoever wins this moves on to the semifinals of KAGI 9.0. Quickdraw checking the discard, seeing what they got. Goes shadows. Goes shadows. Okay, trades there for the Edai, so gets rid of some of the amber control. Not giving up any amber gain though, importantly. He's gonna go to check at 9, which I think against Guadalupe is a pretty safe check number. They did his flip, so they could have hit a redrawn submersive. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well played. Well played. Well played to Quick Draw. That was nice. I think they piloted that deck really well. Yeah. Well played. Well played. Ugluk there as well. Just the nature of Keyforge. Yeah, if he was right. Yeah, me too. I think Guadalupe is pretty favored in this matchup. That's I was reserving my judgment. But personally, I think Guadalupe is pretty favored. I would want to play Guadalupe in this, pretty much every time. Uh, how many chains? I think slow chain counts. I think it's low chain counts, but I think you do. I think Guadalupe here is favored. I think it's hard to say if there was some room for improvement on Ugluk's game with the deck. I think there's certainly I personally find that the lack of not taking the tide with the Chelonia was a bit of a mistake for a little bit of tempo, and then yeah, and the C did come early, and like there's some real arguments over whether you hold it. The C in Guadalupe is really challenging, and to it can be hard if it doesn't line up properly, but especially when Ugluk knows that if they were going to struggle taking them to sort of any board that deck forms, certainly could be things, especially like the final analysis. Maybe the final analysis needed to be used, or maybe it needed to be given some card draws for that. So I don't know. It's Ugluk certainly gonna have to look back and see how that all went. But well played to both. I think both players played it really well. Both are super good players, really good adaptive players. And sometimes that's just Keyforge. Sometimes you get a 2-0 in KAGI, and that's just Keyforge. So I'm sure QuickDraw is very thankful to win that game too, because I think Guadalupe is definitely favored in that matchup. DT best set. DT best set. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. That has been round 1 coverage for KAGI 9.0 Top Cut. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to have some more of this, so keep an eye out for it. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. This is going to be a great Top Cut. Catch y'all next time.